What's new, 802? I'm Becca Hammond, and you're listening to Burlington Talks. Burlington Talks may include graphic or explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Just a heads up that I am holding off on doing the events updates episodes until I get more feedback that people really are interested in it. So please go on Apple Podcasts and review the show. Review the show wherever you can. Leave me a like on Facebook at Burlington Talks. Just get communicating with me so I know that you like what I'm doing. Thank you so much. On this week's episode, I am talking with John Berg and Matt Kimball of The Path, which is a hardcore/punk band, I would also call them a bit metal, out of Vermont. The other members of the band that weren't able to join us today were Chris, Liam, and Andrew. Chris is actually a sponsored climber who is on the September cover of Vermont Sports Magazine. He helps run a nonprofit climbing organization called Crag Vermont. Forgive me if I said the name of the organization wrong. It's cragvt.org if you'd like to check it out. The Path's currently working with State of Mind Recordings, based out of Huntington, New York, and they just released an LP called Chaotic Good on 12-inch vinyl and CD. Thanks so much for being on the show, John and Matt. Here we go.
My name is Matt Kimball, and I play guitar in the band, and sometimes do vocals when I am forced to by John.
True. My name is John. I do vocals in The Path. We are missing today Liam, who plays drums, Chris, who plays guitar, and Andrew, who plays bass in our band. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make it, but you got us.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys have a good excuse, though, for why Chris isn't here, at least. It sounds like he rock climbs professionally. I didn't even know that was a thing people did in
That's an understatement. I mean, you know how when you rock climb, there's those bolts in the rocks that I guess you hook the thing into to do the rope thing? I don't do heights, so it's not my thing. But he likes climbing up and drilling those in and creating
He's the guy that makes the path safer-ish.
Yeah. Do you know that spot on Interstate 89 where there's like kind of a big bald rock that's like kind of looks like a dome on the left?
Yep.
So he did that on that.
Oh, fun.
And that's like a nonprofit that he helped run, or maybe I think he even helped create it, called Crag Vermont, and they like did that on that rock. It's pretty intense.
That sounds so intense. I would be so scared watching them do it.
It's not my thing.
Yeah, I can't even go on the roof of my house without getting uncomfortable.
Having feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing that he does that for a nonprofit. He started the nonprofit.
Yeah, and he, I'm not sure if he's back yet or if he's coming back, but
back.
He's back. He just went to Kenya to rock climb, and we've been getting all sorts of wild stories of his Kenya experience. But yeah, he's a madman. He's
also climbed El Capitan.
Yes.
I've heard the name. I don't know what that is, but I've heard the name before.
It's a really big like it's a mountain in California in one of those national parks.
Is it one of those like bare face cliffs?
Yeah.
Like just that's vertical.
Like when you're in a
That's
doctor's
not
office and you
human.
see a calendar with like generic like nature photos, it's probably going to be in there.
Yeah, I think there was a documentary of a really famous rock climber whose name I don't know, who climbed it. Chris is going to be so pissed at me. I don't know, without ropes. I don't know what that's called, but...
Oh, the free climber guys.
Yes.
Those guys are even more terrifying.
Yeah.
than
There's a
normal
documentary,
climbers.
and I'm pretty sure that's the spot, but with my aversion to heights, I skipped that documentary.
And he also ice climbs too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
His pictures on Facebook make me very, very nervous. Very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, they're beautiful. Those pictures are always so... it's kind of like looking at the ridiculous skiers that get dropped out of helicopters. You're like, wow, that looks so badass.
I've always wanted to do that.
From my couch.
Exactly. Like, oh, that looks so cool, where I'm nice and safe and warm. And it's all been photoshopped, and there's no scary moments where you think they're not going to make it. Yep, I like those.
I feel like athletically we have an extreme person in the band to like the most least extreme. And like John is at the bottom of the totem pole and Chris at the top. And then I ski sometimes. And then Andrew snowboards a lot. Oh, I guess Liam doesn't really do too much.
That's true.
I think Liam skateboards maybe. Does he?
Am I the least?
What do you do?
I go to the gym sometimes.
Oh, okay. You play wiffle ball?
No, I'll own it.
Badminton. That's your extreme sport?
I mosh. No, I don't.
I was going to say, you guys are in a metal band, so that kind of elevates you slightly above more normal people. Even if you don't do anything athletic, you're probably slightly more badass than someone who doesn't do anything athletic and isn't in a metal band.
I get my cardio in when we play.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I sweat.
You scream.
Yeah.
And you do it well.
That's what I tell myself, at least, you know.
Well, screamo bands are really funny for me because I went to this concert. I'm going to tell you guys a story. And it's Our Last Night. Have you guys heard Our Last Night?
No.
Not familiar.
Really kind of not my favorite type of music. They're kind of like glam metal. They do a lot of like pop covers, like metal pop cover.
Gotcha.
Like they cover whatever Taylor Swift just came out with in metal form. That's what they do. They've blown up though. This band has a real following now. But when I saw them, I got dragged to this show in New Hampshire, and it was in a concrete box. And God love them, high school kids opened up for these guys. They had 5 high school metal bands open up for these guys. These were not the very talented young men that we got to see this last Friday at the Guardhouse. What was their name again?
Gone Wrong.
Gone Wrong. They were so good.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked.
They have not gone wrong.
No, and they have a demo on Bandcamp. For anybody that's listening, you should definitely check it out.
They're going right. That was an excellent
And they
high
just
school
recorded
band.
8 new songs. I have a little in on that.
Psych.
I've heard them.
Yes.
With Urian, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So going from our Vermont beloved metal bands of youth bands to these guys that I heard in New Hampshire, they were unrehearsed. I wanted to play metal, but they couldn't really technically play metal, and the kids screaming were high pitched, and they had no soundproof. It was a bar, and I couldn't believe there was literally no soundproofing at all, and it was a concrete box. Like it was
I
literally
had
made
a
of
pretty
cinder
visceral
blocks.
reaction when you said concrete box. I imagine the sound was terrible.
It was so bad. I actually left the show, and they're like, you can't come back in the building. And I'm like, I don't care. And they're like, Our Last Night is coming on next. I said, I don't care. And I went and sat in the car for an hour because my head hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Poor high school bands. But yeah, that show was so interestingly bad, and now that band has blown up.
Yeah, I was in a really bad high school band, but that band was a precursor to a slightly better band. And then, which was a precursor to a slightly better band. So,
and Gone Wrong, they can't say ever that they were in a bad high school band.
maybe they were in another band we don't know about.
Right. They were probably in a band when they were in like 3rd grade.
Okay, well, they can just not talk about that because that's not high school. So.
Right. They can
But
just
yeah,
The
pretend
high school
that
band I was
beginning.
in was pretty bad.
Gone Wrong's pretty impressive. They're a really good band.
Yeah,
And
like, technically, I did not know what to expect. You never know what to expect. But the little bassist was up there. Sorry, little bassist. You are a valid musician.
And-
you are awesome bassist.
and
awesome
we have
bassist.
a little bassist too, and his name's Andrew.
Well, bassist kid, young gentleman, was out there playing, and I was like, this seems legit. This kid's got like real
They
skills.
also
He's-
all shred at Talent Skate Park. Like they're incredible skaters, and like their whole family skates. Like their dad and their mom skate too. It's incredible.
What was the lead singer's first name? Do you guys know? I could have sworn someone called this kid Axel, and I about died.
I'm pretty sure it's Axel.
Is his name Axel?
I don't know if that's the birth given name, but
Well, either way, that was like the greatest moment. I'm like, is his name Axel? Because he's so cool that was just
he's
so
way
fitting.
cooler than Axl Rose.
He's too
I'll say
cool.
that.
Like, I feel like I shouldn't even be discussing him because I'm not cool enough. This kid's going to blow up when he's like 16. He's going to be better than Justin Bieber because, God, that kid
Indeed.
could have just disappeared. I still blame Kanye West for that one. I'm totally going on a tangent, but I don't like Kanye West mostly because of Justin Bieber, and he brought Justin Bieber to the world.
Yeah, I mean, Kanye West made decisions I wouldn't make, but I don't know. He did
We're
him.
not Kanye West.
Yeah, and that's cool.
That's good.
I probably wouldn't have you on the podcast if you were Kanye.
Nice.
I'm happy to not be Kanye West.
Okay, let's actually get to the band. Let's
Yes.
talk about the
Instead
band.
of talking about other bands.
Yes, because I've been fangirling, just talking about the show. I'm sorry. So, The Path. How long ago did you start the band?
About almost 5 years ago.
I'm saying 5 at this point, but
Yeah,
yes.
it's like pretty close to the 5 years from when we first started practicing.
I guess I don't, to be completely honest, I know how the band started and why, but not quite the exact moment, to be honest. It was the summer of 2015, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that we had a practice like maybe in September, October, and that's kind of when it really started.
Yeah. I met Matt at some shows, and he's like, we should start a band. I'm like, nah, I'm not starting a band. He's like, we should start a band. I'm like, nah, I'm not starting a band. And he's like, we should start a band. I'm like,
That's what you get when you give people copies of your old band's record.
yeah. But then
I was very blown away.
Thanks,
and I
thanks,
was
bud.
convinced to make him be in a band with me, no matter what he said.
And it
apparently it worked.
Yeah. Eventually, my wife's like, you should do it. I'm like, I don't think you realize like what kind of commitment it is to be in a band, because it takes a lot of time. Like, it's a lot of work. And even though it's super fun, like, it's a consideration. Like, no, go do it. And now, we make our plans and we'll go out for weekends. She'll be like, again, I'm like, you told me to do it. This is your fault. But yeah, about 5 years we've been a band. And it's been overall pretty great.
Yeah, you guys sound good. You're very solid. A solid metal band needs to be technically good at their instruments, and everyone is. You sounded good together. I liked your songs.
Thanks.
Kids were moshing like crazy.
Yeah. The show at the Guardhouse was really, everybody was excited about every band. People were moving around, going crazy, and it makes it a lot more fun when people are into it. I mean, even if they aren't, we still do our thing.
It's never an expectation on our end to, have an amazing crowd or like, we're not going to play. Like, it's never like that. Like, if there was one person there, I would play just as hard as I did that night for that one person. That's my personal mantra.
It's still got to be fun for you guys to see like a small-ish crowd and see them going totally nuts. Like that was fun for me.
It is cool. I mean, we play kind of a niche genre in regards to the size of the world. Not many people are really into, fast, thrashy, hardcore music and screaming vocals. So anytime somebody's feeling it, it's really cool. And we've been doing it for a while. We made a lot of friends, and people seem to be into it. And it's definitely rewarding. It's definitely not the motive or the goal. We just kind of make music that we like playing. But yeah, when people are into it, that makes it so much better.
I purely do it for expression, for myself, really. A lot of people ask me like, oh, what's your mission, or like, what's your goal? And I'm like, I just want to have a good time. I just like, I need something to.
Yeah, we're in a cool spot, we being Vermont and the Burlington area right now, where there's kind of like a rebirth. We had 242 Main, which people talk about all the time, which held a really important spot in history, but then declined and then shut down. And I feel like now we're kind of seeing the fruits from those seeds come back. Definitely a positive spirit. A lot of bands, a lot of people not in bands who really just want to support each other. And it's really good. It's organic, and everybody's just really psyched about everything, which makes it fun. And that's why we could play with, Old North End and Gone Wrong and Winooski Anvil Company and, all the other bands from Vermont. And people are just psyched to be here because they're all just hanging out with their friends.
Yeah, very true. So how many albums do you guys have?
We have currently, I guess, 2. Our first record was called Our Cancer Year, which was released digitally and on CD by a label out west.
And a very limited cassette tape.
On a very limited cassette tape,
limited.
correct. Then we did a record called Chaotic Good, which was put out by State of Mind Recordings from Long Island on vinyl and CD. And we are actually we just sent off our next record. We're doing a split LP with our friends from Boston called Psychic Weight.
Cool.
Which I'm very excited about. That band is incredible. And I'm really, really excited for people to hear both sides of the record because I think both bands really put a solid effort in putting out the best record that we could. And hopefully that's out by our record release show in March.
I think it's going to be a tight squeeze.
Fingers crossed. But we booked our record release show, which will be at the Burlington VFW with us and Psychic Weight, Voices in Vain,
Zodiac Sutra.
Yeah.
Is there one Gone Wrong?
Gone Wrong
nice.
is playing, and this band Couch Sex, who will be coming from Boston as well. That's also going to be a benefit for Trans Lifeline, which is an organization that provides help for trans folk who aren't doing so hot. And we feel that it's a really important cause. So we decided we wanted that show to be a benefit for them.
Awesome. What is this split record called again?
Well, I guess the official title is
Fight Death?
Yeah, The Path and Psychic Weight Fight Death. But,
I like it.
Yeah, I do all of the layout stuff for our band and all the design stuff. And, I knew I wanted to do a split record with them, but I didn't want to do just The Path, Psychic Weight. And I was just messing around, and then I came up with The Path and
I don't even really know what that means. It sounds cool. I'm assuming it just means overcoming the most intense thing you'll ever have to experience in your life, which is not living.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe.
It means whatever you want it to.
Is that what it means?
I don't know.
We're just figuring this out now on your podcast.
I just think it's cool.
Yeah, right.
Sounds great. It sounds like celebrity death match.
Metal, exactly. It just sounds cool. I love metal so much, and I grew up with Metalocalypse, watching Metalocalypse, and so much of what they did. It was on Adult Swim, and it followed this band that was supposed to. It was kind of like Metallica.
You never watched that show, man?
Only they were six times bigger than
did.
Metallica. They were amazing, and 90% of what they did made no sense, but it just sounded cool.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't want it to be two bands doing two things. I wanted it to come together and, be a joint effort, even though they're on their side and we're on our side. So that's kind of the vibe that I was pushing, is that we're working together, fight death, I guess. Yeah, that just sounds cool. But
so did you send music back and forth to each other, or did you guys write your own thing and then just combine it?
Well, each band just has their own.
Yeah, we have
own
our
originals.
own side.
Okay, right.
So
it wasn't like a collaboration.
Your side doesn't have anything specifically that's
correct.
This is part one and they did part two or something weird like that.
Correct. Yeah, we played a few shows with them. They played our record release when Chaotic Good came out. So they've been really good friends, and really they've just been a band that I've been really into. So I push pretty hard when we're trying to figure out what direction we want to go for our next record. I'm I want to do it with this band. And
I guess, we really wanted to have a band that, wasn't exactly like us, mirrored what we do, sonically, but is different.
Right.
So their side is very different, lyrically from our side. It's kind of two different worlds, but we're, in agreement that we're both in it together.
Yeah.
Right. Vocal styles in metal can be so vastly different with almost the exact same, the guitarist could be doing the exact same thing, and two totally different vocalists could be two totally different sounding bands, and one very polarizing too. Some people will love it with this singer and some people will love it with this singer. And so, I could definitely see that. Your metal is there's so many different flavors of metal. I love it.
There's a lot of nuance, and that nuance causes decades and decades of arguing about nothing.
At the end of the day, it's all just punk rock to me.
Yeah, it's all punk.
That's what I tell everyone.
Hey.
And when people ask me, what kind of band, I'm in a screamy punk band.
I like hardcore. I like that phrase.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people I've met have had that in their listing. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, we're a punk, hardcore, this whatever rock band."
I mean, there's a million ways you could chop us up and drop us into genres, but we're a hardcore band. We're a hardcore punk band. We just like playing short, fast, really aggressive songs. And
we have parts that feel kind of metal at times.
Yeah.
I like a lot of metal too. Yeah. I can't play it as well.
But I don't know. I tell people that I'm in a punk band, and I tell people at work not to listen to it because they won't like it. It's very
that always happens. Every time a coworker is like, "Oh, so what's your band like?" and I'm just like,
I just started saying
Your grandma will hate it.
Yeah.
I just tell people we're very abrasive. We're fast and abrasive, and you probably won't like it. So let's just go back to work.
Do you give them a band that you're like,
Yeah, I was just thinking,
like Slayer?
I've been trying to find out like what that accessible band is that people can relate to, and I don't know what that
I
is.
tried for a long time, trying to be like, oh, we're kind of like this. And then nothing worked. So I started saying, well, who's like the most extreme band that you know? And then
ask
people,
them.
yeah.
and they're like, I know Metallica. And they're like, well.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. And like, I've just given up on trying to like, find that common ground because it's super nichey, and I could name 50 bands that they wouldn't know. And
I would use the Ramones a lot.
Really?
Like, yeah, I feel like that's like the most like accessible band that plays faster music that maybe a lot of people know because they were like the first.
Yeah, a lot of people do recognize, like they recognize the Ramones. They know what direction it's heading.
Well, I guess for me, like we wouldn't exist if the Ramones didn't play. That's kind of how I feel. Like all the influences I have before me would have existed without them.
Yeah,
so.
but I've said, oh, I'm in a punk band, like, oh, like Green Day. It's like, no.
Yeah,
no.
that was. Well, that's it. The whole genre is so far-reaching, and it's like that for every single type of.
Which is
music
great
at
because
this
people are
point.
authentically expressing themselves through the music in whatever way they choose.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like we're a punk band. We maintain punk ethics. We're a DIY band. You know, we're a lot of things.
Well, punk is a really interesting scene to me, and it's funny because I was born too late to really appreciate punk rock, and I was born living on a dairy farm, so in the middle of nowhere. So Burlington was really far away, and you know, the one kid wearing black was me in school. That everyone thought I was a weirdo, because you know we're literally all farmers' kids. Yeah, so just having. I forgot totally where I was going with that.
Punk.
I hate when I do that. Punk, yes, punk. So I've been literally studying it since I was a child. I have all these big, massive textbooks. I took like a punk class in college. And coming to Burlington and meeting like Dev Robinson, he very much relates to the punk scene and talking about that mentality of we get segregated against because we're hardcore, basically. But not in a way that like, oh, we're, you know, I'm a cool teenager, so I'm so hardcore that everyone doesn't relate to me. It's more like, see how many people we relate to. We're all a group. We're in this together. It's very supportive, which is funny because they have the piercings and the tattoos and the mohawks or whatever is going on that scares away the general community vibe. Like, you know, you probably won't see the preacher hanging out with these guys, but they might be way more supportive and loving and just a better community than some of the stiff upper lip, straight edge looking people of the world.
Yeah, I mean, after 20 question mark years of being into punk, I just realized that there's mainstream people that want to make it their job, and then there's punk, and that's how it is. And, you know, like, I wouldn't call Green Day a punk band. Do they sound like a punk band? Yep. Were they once a punk band? Probably.
You're thinking like ethically,
but like
in practice.
But that's
they
why
really
like
a punk band.
Punk isn't a genre. Punk isn't a style of music. Punk is just a way of running your life, and you know that's why punk scenes tend to be more community oriented because I'm not competing with anybody. I'm psyched if your band does well.
Right,
you know?
you're happy for people to start a band.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
But
and like we said, it's fun to have a lot of people at your show. I can't deny that.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, I think that usually the casts off from that mainstream flow usually just find each other and then find comfort in that and find support in that, and that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think the punk subculture, which is just so vast and diverse now, you know, I mean, I think it was really founded upon like questioning mainstream society and like realizing that like you don't feel like this works for you. Like you don't fit in. That's for me. I've never felt like I fit in, and this one culture worked for me.
Yeah. If you don't fit in somewhere, make a place where you and your friends fit in together.
Sometimes that's not punk. Sometimes that's like the theater or something, or you know, maybe people like want to paint and they have a painting.
Some people might say that
community.
is punk.
Exactly. 'Cause it's not a genre.
Like the purest form of punk is just doing whatever you love.
Yeah.
Right?
And regardless of what people think.
But it's outside the status quo.
This can be true.
That's my opinion.
If the thing you love is Taylor Swift, I'm sorry, you're not punk. I'm just sorry.
Sometimes it's okay to dabble, but but I definitely think it's just a matter of, doing something because you love doing it, not because it's your business. And just, it removes competition. It makes everything fun.
Yeah, it has to be fun or it's not worth doing.
True.
Right. I read this book. I'm totally going to bring up something random here, but it's called Fat Kid Rules the World. And it's a quick little read. And it was written for middle school kids, which is hilarious. But it's my favorite book in the entire world. And it's literally about punk and the point of punk. And it's a lifestyle. And it has this really deep meaning connected to music and like the meaning of life. And it's so beautiful. And they like bring Kurt Cobain into it as like a character, but he's not Kurt Cobain as a character. He's like if Kurt didn't make it, kind of.
Gotcha.
So cool. It's just the conversation we were just having, that it's that moment where you kind of break through the bullshit. Like you're not putting on what is going to look good on Instagram. Like you break through that. You're just living your being, and you're different and you're weird, and it's good.
Yeah, and it's funny because people are always like, "Oh, do you make money?" It's like, no. But if I wanted to make money, I wouldn't be in the path. I'd be in, I don't know what I'd be in, but it would probably be
a cover band doing top 40.
Right. You'd be playing at weddings
or a jam.
You would be playing other people's music that is quote unquote popular.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not into that.
Yeah.
So I don't make money, and that's cool too.
That's why it's funny. I love going to see local bands, especially bands that are, I love the young bands. I absolutely love the young bands that are killing it. But if you go see a band full of 65-year-olds in Vermont, their love of music is just so strong, and they're not doing this to get famous, and they're not doing it to make money. And I've walked in before to this group of guys that was playing. There wasn't a soul in the room. These guys were jamming so hard. I thought there was people in. I walk in, it's like big double doors, and I'm the only one. And I was just like, woo, I was so happy for them. They were so awesome to see, but they were doing the exact same thing for an empty room versus if there was 30 people there, because it was kind of one of these open things where they play every week, and whoever wants to
they're like
come,
a house band.
Whoever wants to come comes, and they all jam together. And a lot of times in the summer, people come and dance, I guess, but in the winter it kind of dies. But yeah, I walk in and these guys are just killing it. They're so into it.
It feeds your heart, That's what it's all about. It scratches the itch, and just getting out there and doing it like that. Regardless of what you're doing, if you're doing it to make yourself feel good, it doesn't matter if there are people there or not, Very
true. And I have a special spot in my heart for metal. Something about metal always just being at a metal show, like the drums, the feeling in your chest, like your heart's beating together with everyone else, and you're just living in that moment. In the mosh pit, when I was younger, I'm terrified of them now.
I feel that way too, and I feel like that's why like other styles of music don't like do it for me. Like I don't feel like that heartbeat. I don't feel like that synchrony. It feels like a little more like individual, and not like collective.
I go to a rap show and I'll have a 6'5" guy elbow me in the face to get in front of me, and I come to a metal show and we pick each other up off the floor. We're there for each other. I get so stoked to go see metal shows. I like seeing live music, but I'm like ready. I'm like, yes, a metal show. I don't care who it is. I'm going.
It's a visceral experience. It's like listening to music way too loud and feeling it in the speakers. How that's different than listening to music quietly, and it's a different energy, and that energy definitely.
I think a lot of people use it, to get through the normal mundane crap. Like getting through that terrible day at work or school or whatever you have to do to, suffer through your life. Like this music, like really like gives you that release.
It does. Like something about headbanging and just getting into it. It's so good.
I don't know. Maybe people feel that way with like folk music too, but like it doesn't work that way for me.
Some people need it amped up a little. It's always funny because people at my job, know that I'm in a band, and they know that my band's, a crazy band, and, generally in life, I tend to be a very pleasant, especially at work. I'm very pleasant, very calm, very helpful. And then, I'll have a show and come in the next day and my voice will be all rough. And they'll be like, oh, now I understand how you're so calm at work. Because, and I always think it's kind of corny when people are like, this is my outlet or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of true, even if it's corny.
Gives you an adrenaline rush. I mean,
I just said it was my outlet.
I know.
Am I a corn dog? I guess I'm a corn dog.
It's okay. You're charming. But
Thanks.
So the writing process, I'm sorry. We're still going off on tangents,
It's
but
okay.
I'm so excited. You're my first metal band, and I've just wanted to
Nice.
talk about metal for a while. Because I've had a lot of bands on the show, but not metal, and I
Yeah.
love it so much. I'm so excited. Anyway, so writing the music. Who writes the lyrics, and then how do you guys all collaborate to write the music?
So I pretty much have written all the lyrics for the band. Musically, everybody else collaborates. But yeah, I definitely have taken on the lyric duties for the writing, which, it's all right.
Yeah. I conceded that to John pretty early on. I feel like I've been in a lot of other bands where I did that, and it's just it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a lot
yeah,
of
it is.
responsibility to put your ideas to paper and then have them on a recording and then being able to live with it for the rest of your life. So
Wow.
hopefully
When you
John
put it
is
like
living
that.
with it.
Oh man, now he wants to change all these words.
No, it's definitely, it's a part that I like doing a lot. And I do my best to make our songs interesting. I like to, make them about something, even though you might read them and not necessarily be like, this is about that. I don't know. It helps me process and deal with things that don't make me excited. But yeah, our upcoming record, it's 7 songs. 6 of them are originals and a cover by a band called Warzone. But it's an overarching story about an alien invasion that ends up being a hoax, but it unites the whole world before the world finds out it's a hoax. And then, once the world is united, you can't be like, I guess that's dumb. So, and I just I get ideas, and I just run with them. And luckily my band doesn't stop me.
I feel like you have these themes already in your mind before the music is even created.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I try and definitely have an idea or a direction, and each of our records kind of tackles a different arc.
They're like episodes, in a sci-fi show. It feels like it.
Yeah, but it helps me kind of get out what I need to get out. And, throughout our second record, Chaotic Good, there's a few songs where, they're, I guess, environmental songs. But, if you read them, we have a song called All Hail Spider Bear, and it's a 30-second song. And
Yes, you guys sent me that as the intro to this
Oh
podcast.
yeah, that is true. That is true. We're still keeping our fingers crossed that
Hopefully that won't
it'll
turn
check
away
out.
listeners
But,
within the first 10 seconds.
But basically, this song is about living in a future where you have to fight off these giant bear-sized spider bears because we've destroyed the earth so much now there are mutants, and some of those mutants are cute, and some of those mutants are giant spiders with bear heads, and that's what we're dealing with. And so there's 2 songs about that.
Because Trump destroyed the EPA.
No, we destroy everything. He is just one person.
True.
He is a symptom of the problem.
He did gut it, apparently. Apparently no one works for the EPA anymore, which
Well,
I guess it still exists.
I guess
but
we
they're still
allowed him to do it.
employees.
There we go.
exactly.
It's everyone's fault.
We can take responsibility,
Yeah.
I guess.
He is just one. I guess I'll call him a person. But
Sorta.
Sorta.
He's kind of a tomato.
But yeah, he's a symptom of the problem. And even if we were to remove him from life today, there's a lot of other
symptoms.
people who are going to fill his gross ass shoes.
Yep.
People are making those Epstein didn't kill himself. I want to know who Epstein's replacement is. Nobody's talking about that.
No.
You never know.
Because then you have to get to the root of the problem and take accountability
It's true.
for yourself. Yeah.
Sorry.
Tough stuff.
Oh man, it's the worst. Just makes me want to gag just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I mean, the world's a beautiful place filled with many, many beautiful people, but unfortunately,
Very true.
capitalism ruins everything.
Also true. I mean, oh wait, no. Excuse me.
As a band that makes no money, we can talk shit on capitalism.
Right? Right? There's so many things wrong with the world in general. I've considered starting a podcast where I just rant about things, but this
You should
isn't...
interview someone from the Venus Project.
Ooh, I love the Venus Project.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Are they local?
They're in Florida. I
Yeah,
think?
they're in Florida.
darn.
I'll tell you about that. So there's this guy, Jacques Fresco, who has passed away. He started the Venus Project. He was a futurist inventor, I believe, was what he called himself.
I've heard that name before, yeah.
There's a documentary. It's free on the internet, and he designed everything from houses to like cities to vehicles, and it's all to make the world sustainable.
Nice.
The idea is having a resource-based economy where there is no money,
Oh, what a
and
smart
you work
idea.
and you work. The work you do is to improve humanity, and you feel good about that.
Yeah.
And that's your motive for work, not
Right.
having money.
And automate everything to liberate labor, which is great.
Right.
Instead of automating
Yes.
things to funnel more money to
Yes.
douchebags who
Yeah.
hate you.
Exactly. That's because I write code for a living.
Okay.
So I very much live
Oh,
on
snap.
this. I'm electrical engineer too, so I made like robots. Literally, I could do that if I wanted to. Not. that
I remember
have
the
made
day I
anything
was
so
writing
cool.
an email in Google and it completed a sentence, and I was horrified. I was like,
Shocking.
"You know me? You know me."
And it's getting like better and better to the point where like I was giving a kitten away to someone I work with, and it wrote the email for me. It was like, I will be
What?
here at 12:30 with the kitten. It
Wow.
like knew the kitten. And I was because I had just started the email. I hadn't written anything. It just was like a response to another email. Like, that is creepy.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be. It's only creepy because this company's taking that data and then using that data against you and to make their money.
Yes.
But
And
the technology itself is awesome.
yeah, not something that like benefits. I mean, it saves us 2 seconds, but it's not benefiting humanity exactly. But
I guess that's true.
this hate,
Technology is not being civilized.
exactly.
Did I say that correctly? You're not
Sounded
civilized
good.
with advanced technology, essentially, if you're using it incorrectly.
Because the idea of the self-driving car, and I know it gets a lot of hate, especially in Vermont, where we have a lot of people who like to drive. That's fine, you know. Like to drive, that's totally different than the self-driving car in my mind, because the self-driving car, if given the opportunity, could eliminate car accidents, which are the major killer of young people. Basically, if you don't die of old age or cancer, you're probably going to die in a car accident in this country. And there's so much animosity and hate towards that when there aren't seeing the good that could be there. I mean, it will take away a lot of jobs, but do you
I was
really
about
want
to
to
say
drive
that.
around all day and not think and not do anything when a robot can do it for free? And you can go and make music, like make the world a better place.
Oh,
for
like I could send my car out to
humans.
go grocery shopping for me?
What a concept!
Like the cars in the produce aisle picking out apples? That'd be great.
Well,
little
another
robot.
robot. would
Another robot would
bring-
come out.
Yes,
of the car.
the little
Yeah.
robot.
I was
would
like, we're going to have
deliver.
to make the stores bigger for the cars.
One point that you brought up that's really interesting. I have a friend who had a degree in horticulture, and then he went back to school for computer science because he got all bugged out about jobs being eliminated. And we were talking a while back, and he said, you know what, like when all transportation is automated, about 40% of our workforce will be out of a job. And during the Great Depression, unemployment hit about 28%, and bankers were jumping out of windows to their death.
Yep.
Now, this wouldn't be scary if people were talking more about universal income or using these technologies to fund people living. Unfortunately, nobody's talking about it. And we're, self-driving cars straight at a wall where it's going to destroy our economy. And people aren't talking about it. I agree that self-driving transportation obviously is a good idea. But yeah, there's complications that need to be worked out, or else.
I think really the problem is the society we've built is literally made to fund billionaires. So the self-driving car isn't going to be an improvement to poor people, which is 99% of us. Like, we're all poor people. Like, pretty much everyone. Even if you make $1 million a year, you're still a poor person in comparison to the really rich people in this world. And they're the ones who are going to benefit from the self-driving car, just the same way they've benefited from the oil industry.
I mean, I've literally never seen a self-driving car. Is that because I'm poor? Because I don't have access? Because I'm not around other rich people?
They aren't fully... they're still working on it.
They're not in this country. They have self-delivering vehicles in Europe.
Do they?
Yeah.
I heard by 2025 we should start seeing them more.
Yeah. In America, we don't, especially in Vermont, we don't see the newest thing anytime soon. But I think it's in, I want to say the Netherlands. They have self-driving delivery vehicles.
And are they still using fossil fuels in those cars?
Probably not in the Netherlands. Because most other countries are not dependent on fossil fuels. Because, like, yeah, there's so many. It's so funny, that whole issue, because really this all stems from when they ripped all the railroads out because they wanted to make fossil fuels be the prime shipping fuel. So let's put millions of big rigs on the road and rip railways out, when really our whole country could have shipping completely dependent on electric bullet trains that we could get the goods from New York City to LA in under 8 hours.
Yeah, but that doesn't line the people in power's pockets of money.
Exactly.
So why would we do that?
So we can't even. Well, yeah, that's just crazy. See, and that's.
You can't kill as many poor brown people if you just have a train. You know,
point.
Maybe a couple, but like if you really want to stick it to them, you need to have a big old military and a big old partial wall.
Oh man! Oh, we are so far off base.
So, anyways, that's how we write songs.
Yeah.
It's full of angst and
this is
anger.
what happens. We're in the practice space, and we just have conversations like this until we're like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be.
Now I'm going to write a whole record about self-driving cars.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We got off.
No, it's
base
fine.
on
Yeah,
that
to
one.
be honest, that was
awesome.
probably the most honest way of us describing how we write music.
Well, that's it. You think something, you feel something, and you get pissed off or whatever. You start getting creative just because of a thought. That's
You need
that's how it works.
to get it out, and yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah. It's
for that one.
It's all of us. We're in this together.
That was fun though. See, I need a different
We're
podcast.
equally all off track right now.
Okay, so we've talked about your albums. We've talked about how you write your music. Since we can't really ask the other guys, but what are your favorite bands that inspire you? You already said the Ramones, Matt.
I wouldn't say they're like my favorite band. They're just like the like accessible band that I could possibly see other people being like, yeah, I know the Blitzkrieg Bop song, or my favorite band. I guess the Descendants are my favorite band. I'm gonna put that out there. But I love so many bands that I can't even like give you like a list of top five. I can give you them.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to distill it down, because especially when you're into like niche music, you tend to love a million bands, and they're all inspiring. I mean, growing up on Long Island, I grew up in a really great time when there were a lot of bands with DIY ethics, and they were getting a lot of attention, and shows were packed, and it was really good. But every year I'm finding new bands that I'm falling in love with.
I guess I could list like bands that inspired this band, maybe collectively.
Could.
I don't know, like Kill Your Idols,
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead.
I'm always like, let's make a song that sounds like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah. Sick of It All, Agnostic Front, a lot of like New York City bands. I know there's a lot of Vermont bands that I'm inspired by. There was a band called My Revenge that was around the early 2000s. There are so many bands in Vermont even I'm inspired by.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been about, fast, short songs, and mostly, I mean, what inspires me beyond the music is the attitude and the ethics. I always say that my favorite bands are my friends' bands. and that's almost regardless of genre, because I just like feeling it, and if I can feel it, I'm into it. If I don't feel it, I'm not. So yeah, I mean, there's a billion bands. I mean, in the past few years, Wimp. I always like to mention this band Wimp from Boston that we played with a few times, who are incredible. There's this band Red Bait, who's from St. Louis right now, who I've been really into. Just ordered their record. Gouge Away from Florida. Just got the Sick Minds split with Fire and Flood. They put out a record on Patient Zero Records, which is a really good label out of Massachusetts. Who are
Crafter.
doing a good thing. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. They were, buds of ours that we played a lot of shows with, and they were influential. We don't sound anything like them, but like their spirit, I think, was influential on us. And
we play music that we like, and hopefully our friends will be like, "Yo, that song's sick." Like past that, it doesn't, matter too much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So, how often you guys practice? Like, where is your practice space, and how often you guys?
It's in my basement.
Yeah.
Or in our bassist basement in Bolton. It kind of goes back and forth.
I would say that we loosely practice weekly. Some weeks we don't. We've always, prided ourselves in being a band that's like, oh, you've got something else to do? Cool. We'll cancel what we're doing.
Right.
We're all.
Well, yeah, it's meant to be fun. It's not. It's meant to hinder your life.
Exactly, and we all are. A little older,
full-fledged adults doing adult things.
Yeah,
adulting's hard.
Adulting's extremely challenging.
It can be, and it's time-consuming, and it interrupts fun a lot. But we try and be as easygoing as possible. So, like, yeah, to answer your question, probably about weekly, but sometimes not.
bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Yep.
As often as we can without overexerting ourselves.
I would like to thank my neighbors if you're listening. You have seemed to never care, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't think they've listened to anything for years.
Yeah, they've never been a complaint. I've
Practicing.
never talked to a police officer, so thank you
Nice.
for not complaining.
Are you right in the city?
I live in the New North End.
Oh yeah,
In
so
a
you're-
suburb, so there's like houses like 5 feet away from my house.
Nice.
Yeah.
No one's
You-
ever
did-
said anything.
Did
Literally,
you ever do any soundproofing or anything?
none. No one's even said, "Hey, I heard your band practicing. Good songs." Like no one's literally talking to me. Like I don't even think
They're
they
just
care.
pretending it didn't happen.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a hard thing in Burlington is finding places to play.
I live down in Lincoln. I'm like, hey, we could practice at my house. But nobody wants to drive to Lincoln.
I don't know where the heck is Lincoln.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah, like,
near
I don't-
Bristol.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up on the
Okay.
mountain.
I
above
like to
Bristol.
say it's a suburb of Bristol.
But Bristol's really not. That's not that far, really.
I don't think so. I mean, it took me
well-
about a little shy of an hour to get here, but it's a pleasant drive, and I listen to podcasts, and
It seems pretty expansive because the first time I went to Bristol, this woman's house, she lived right in this corner of Bristol that she was 30 minutes out of Burlington. But then I hear people are like, I'm like an hour out of Burlington,
Yeah,
but I live in the same town.
depending on where in Burlington, you might be driving fast enough to get down to Bristol in 30 minutes, but
Yeah, I was just right. I live on Route 7 practically in the south end.
Oh, there
so
you
like
go.
I just went straight.
So I live in
took
the-
a left,
Banged
and took
a
a
left
left,
at
and
the-
then I was there.
It like takes me 20 minutes to get the other side of Burlington.
Yeah, that's
So that's
true.
why I'm like, it's 45 minutes to John's house.
Oh man, I got so mad at a guy once who was like, "Can you bring me home? I just live in the North End." And I was like, "Sure." We were on Church Street. An hour later,
Oh,
it's like,
yikes.
"Oh my
He must
God,
be
are we still in Burlington?
Colchester.
Are we in Montreal? What's happening?"
yeah, I've got a healthy fear of police, so I tend to drive the speed limit now, because
Because paying tickets sucks.
and just
And
I don't
having to interact with law enforcement is never
Yeah.
Terrifying.
pleasant.
yeah. So it takes me a little longer, but I'm happy to live out there.
It's
even-
nice and quiet.
Yeah,
different.
everybody's friendly. I've got really, really great neighbors, and I live in a great community, and I like it, even though I have to drive an hour home from everything I do. But
It's not all 180. It's not all 89 though. 'Cause
Exactly.
That's hard.
Yeah, very little 89 in my life, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents. I grew up in Berkshire, which is on the Canadian border, so it's all from St. Albans, 89.
Yeah.
And I lived in St. Albans and was driving down here. Oh, that's the worst traffic. But
going south seems much better.
That's-
Everyone disperses.
That's what I learned when I started working up here. I was working in Winooski, and 2 weeks after I started my job, there's a really bad snowstorm. And it took me about 3 hours to get back to Lincoln. And most of it
I believe it.
was 89
Yeah.
between Winooski and Williston.
Yeah.
And then once I got off, I was able to do 30 and, get home. But yeah,
It once took me 7 hours to get back to Burlington from Boston because I happened to go down to see a show and didn't, check the weather. And as I came
Wouldn't
out, I
have
was like,
stopped you.
oh my God, there's a snowstorm right now.
Yeah. Oh, God. Did you come up 89 all the way?
Yeah, from
'Cause
like Worcester.
the mountains. I come from my sisters in New Hampshire, and it seems like every time I go down
Well,
there,
there's like a certain, time where like the snow plowers just kind of stop because, they're all family people and they got to go home and take care of their kids. And so
Right.
you cross the Connecticut River and all of a sudden the roads are unplowed.
Yeah, there's no plows, and just so many people and so much snow.
was
It's
just-
terrifying.
And
Yeah.
inching along, I could feel the snow hitting my car.
Right, and it's like 25 miles in between interstate exits down that way. It's terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I remember I hosted this band from Florida many years ago, and they're like, oh, you're only 10 exits away. And I'm like, yeah, that's like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, up here, up north, we have how many? We have like 7 or 8 within like 20 miles. But down, because I went to school in Randolph, and it was funny because that you hit. What am I thinking of? Not Jericho, Richmond. You hit Richmond, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, the next exit is 20 miles. So suddenly the spacing of the numbers gets much bigger. And you're like, oh, I'm zooming along. 20, 50, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. You're just
Yeah.
driving and you're driving. I'm so scared of going off the road down there. That's always my fear for people. If you went off the road in the mountains down there in the wrong time of night, no one would see you forever. You're so far from everybody.
there's a 7% chance your cell phone has reception. So
Yeah, that's the other thing up in the hills.
Carry flares in your car.
Right?
Or I don't have
Oh,
any.
yeah, I was like, that's really smart, man.
Yeah,
Do you do that?
no, I don't.
That would be a really smart
I should, I
idea.
guess. Yeah.
If all else fails, you could probably like start a fire with them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some flares.
Yeah. We should probably go buy some.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
But yeah, I wish that people in Vermont were better at winter driving on the highway. That's a wish that I have for
It's because
the people of
Vermonters
Vermont.
are not highway drivers.
Well, it's true. I mean, driving up
But-
116, no problem. It's curvy, it's up, it's down, but a straight line, nope.
Yeah, can't handle the
Or
straight
a roundabout,
lines.
which is the complete opposite of a straight line. But
We're simple folk.
Yeah, the driving in this state, you just see things sometimes. It's got to be everywhere, though.
No, I think there's a
just-
distinctive cultural reason. There's literally 2 interstates in the entire state,
Yeah.
and not everyone lives near them, and there's
Well,
like no roundabouts.
Sometimes they do things nowhere near interstates, though, that your mind is just blown.
It's a slow way of life, you know.
and a reckless, slow
Slow
and
and
reckless.
slow.
Restless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because we just feel so safe. Because I remember, and I'll never forget this, Dead Man's Curve in Georgia. I don't know if you guys have been up there. It's a hill. So you're right on the top of the hill, and you basically bank the top of the hill in a 90-degree curve.
Nice.
Going 50. It's a 50-mile-per-hour zone. And without a fail, every time people would be off the bank of this, and you go down the hill. That was the problem. You go off the road, you fall down the hill. There'd be 3 cars there every snowstorm. Now, they'd all just falling off this hill. But I remember watching this girl, and it wasn't snowy. It wasn't snowy, but she comes to Dead Man's Curve, and I'm watching her, and behind her, she gets full in the left lane. Takes that curve, spinning her hair around her finger
Yikes.
in the wrong lane. And you can't see it all. Like, you literally can't see there's a house on that corner. And oh my God, it was just amazing. Like, I'm going to watch someone die today, and I don't want to.
Hey, you know what it is, though? If you go off the road, somebody driving past will stop. They'll call their buddy. Their buddy will pull you out of the ditch.
Right.
That's probably what makes
We're
Vermonters
ready
feel.
for each other because we know how poorly we drive.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's probably what gives people that false sense of security.
It'll be
Someone
okay.
will save
Yeah,
me.
somebody will save me. There's people driving. And it's true. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. I'm from Long Island, where people will not save you at all. And it's one of my favorite things about Vermont. You know, if you have a problem, people are looking out for each other.
Right.
And it's a very special characteristic that not many places have.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true about
I would argue that people in Long Island don't drive safely either. It's just like a whole other reality.
Pretty sure no one in the whole world drives safely. Have you seen how Canadians drive? Even, you know, no, and I'm not talking French Canadians. I'm talking the really nice English-speaking Canadians that are all, oh, hi, oh, hey there. They'll blow you off the road going 95 there.
Well, hopefully soon self-driving cars will make everybody drive very well.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you go off the road over the hill where no one can see you, it'll just have a strobe play and just start announcing, there's someone over here.
Yeah, GPS links, sending the robot helicopters to pull you out.
Yeah.
They'll fly a drone over.
I was just going to say, it'll send a drone out.
It'll be like, do you require assistance?
Yeah.
It has like a robot mechanic that just jumps out, lands on its feet.
Right? Or little arms. Yeah. See, we're solving all the world's problems.
I know. We got to cover
Venus
them.
Project, you got to interview them though. Yeah. I guess they're not a Burlington thing, but
Oh, I really wish I could, though. Find someone up here who knows a lot about it, and I want to review them. That's pretty much the criteria. Something cool to talk about. I'm very happy to talk about it. Is there anything else? Do you guys have any upcoming shows you want to talk about, or anything else related to the band that I've totally missed?
Sure. We've got a bunch of things coming up. The first thing I'll talk about, which is not about our shows, but it's about a book that I read that I really liked, called Making Spaces Safer by Shauna Potter. She sings for a band on War on Women, and she takes part in this group in Baltimore called Holla Back, which fights street harassment. And her book is incredible. When I came to Vermont, I kind of, entered the scene, or whatever you want to call it, at a weird point where there was a lot of everything was fractured. There was a lot of problems where there were problematic people. There were a lot of people who didn't have the skills to, deal with those situations in, I'll just say, the correct way. And this book really outlines a lot of ways to address problematic behavior, to eliminate harassment as best you can, of course, or I guess eliminate harassment when you can't, how to deal with that.
I guess specifically predatory behavior.
Behavior.
In show spaces.
Yes.
In musical communities.
But also, any space. And
True.
The book was great, and I really enjoyed it. And I was talking about it, and Jim Lockridge, who is on a previous episode of your podcast, he picked it up and he read it, and we are working together to bring Shauna to Vermont to hold a workshop at the Fletcher Free Library. They also got, I believe, 30 copies of her book, which are part of the, I'll just call it the library book swap, where the libraries send the books to each other. Sorry, I'm not a librarian. But we are raising money to bring Shauna up here so then we can have that free event for as many people as possible.
And there's a GoFundMe if you want to contribute.
Yep, there is a
dollars.
GoFundMe. You could find the link on our Facebook or the DIY Burlington page, or hopefully everywhere you're looking. But yeah, we're working with Jim and Big Heavy World to bring her up, because
I think they actually booked it, because Jim just reached out to me actually on Tuesday, the 18th of February.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, there is a date. It is all set up, and we already sent her money. We're just raising money for more, transportation,
Okay, I see.
her accommodations when she comes up, and
Everyone's got to eat.
yeah.
Right.
But I
need
think
somewhere to sleep.
I think right now it's vital. Right now we're having a resurgence where there's a lot of young people who are coming into the music scene, who are always potentially, victims of harassment and predation, and also people who will know people that are. And I really hope that the community really embraces this opportunity to learn more tactics, because, we've learned from the past, if you don't have these skills to navigate these really complex situations, people get hurt, the right people leave, or sorry, the wrong people leave, the right people stick around until they're removed, but then they go to another place and start that again.
Keep causing
You
the
know,
same
it's really,
problem.
it's no one's fault. You know, there isn't a script. You know, we're all just kind of in this together, kind of figuring it out day by day. I will say that it's a really pivotal period, though, because I think we're finally starting to feel more comfortable about talking about what we want to do, whereas before everyone would just be like,
right, we'd sweep it under the rug and ignore
yeah, or
it.
just talk about it on social media.
Yeah,
So start
get pissed off enough.
yeah,
that
you know,
start
shouting
addressing
matches online.
But yeah, so I'm really, really happy that Big Heavy World has really started running with it, and I hope people take advantage of it. I hope people show up. I hope if people can't show up, they have access to this book through any public library in Vermont. There's going to be screenings of our documentary that we're working out. So we really just want people to know that there are tools out there. And if we all work together and we work with the correct intention, we can really do our best to eliminate environments that aren't hospitable to people. And we'll be able to keep the right people around. And hopefully the wrong people will learn to be the right people. You know, or just never leave their house ever.
That might be best for some people.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I am not a psychologist. I'm not, you know, the smartest guy in the room, but you know,
I think it's much more difficult to be solution oriented than it is to like call people out, you know, and it takes a lot to ask someone to do that, to be part of the solution and come to the table with ideas. And I people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
but hopefully this will change that.
Yeah. And I really think that it's a great opportunity for Vermont to learn so then we don't repeat the same mistakes that we have in the past. So it's pretty big. And I've been focusing on that a lot and promoting that and trying to raise money for that because, yeah, I just think it's very important. But other than that, we do have a few shows coming up. We're playing Higher Ground.
March 7th.
March 7th. It's the Saving Vice record release show. That's another band where like we are very, very different, but I definitely identify that band as being an important band. The people that I've met that are really into them, really, they make people feel good, you know, which I think is really important. So when Tyler was talking to me, I'm like, yeah, we'd love to support that show. They're bringing up Ghost Fame from Massachusetts, who are incredible. We played with them. Kingpin are coming up from Massachusetts, and I think No Soul's playing, and they're great. So that's at Higher Ground, which is cool. That'll be our second time playing there. And then on March 20th, we're doing our record release that we already mentioned.
The VFW. Yeah, with Psychic Weight.
Yep,
and that's part of a weekend tour that we're going to be doing. So we're going to start in Burlington, and then we're going to go down to Long Island.
Yep,
I don't know the exact town, but it's the Velvet Lounge is where we're playing.
Yep,
and
then we're in Boston at Kodo.
Salem. Oh, that's North Shore.
Sick.
Yeah,
that's where the witches are. Or were. No witches.
Yeah.
Witch free. But yeah, our record release show is going to be a benefit for Trans Lifeline, as I mentioned, which is a very important cause. There's a lot of people who like to dehumanize other people based on their lives. And, you know, everybody should be able to live their life and be who they are. And people need support. So hopefully we can help kick a few bucks there because people need that support. But past that, nothing's planned past that.
I guess we're going to play a festival in Ohio in August.
Oh, yeah, that's in August, though.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's confirmed.
Yes.
Trying to figure out a little mini tour around that. Maybe make it up to Canada for the first time.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be good.
Big things coming soon. Big things coming
world
soon.
World tour soon.
World tour, Toronto.
Yeah. Like our page, big things coming soon.
Watch out, Bon Jovi.
But yeah, we're just kind of we're working on things for the summer, but we play it by ear a lot. But we just hope that we can make our band's existence kind of be beneficial if we can.
Yeah, positive things. It's amazing to me, and it speaks to what I was talking about earlier. The first metal band on my show, speaking so much positivity, making spaces safer, donating to Transline. That's just great. Like,
Yeah.
it's great. I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm so happy you're doing what you do. This has been a great conversation. Thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. Woo. Thank you so much to Matt and John for being on the show. That was a great conversation. It was a lot of fun to listen back to. It was funny. Thank you so much to everyone who's listened to the show. Sorry, I am so sorry for all of the complete and total tangents that we went on, but it was a lot of fun. Go to the show notes page, burlingtontalks.com/11. Subscribe to the show. Find me on Facebook at Burlington Talks. Send me an email, Becca, BECCA, @burlingtontalks.com. Just get in touch with me. I want to know what you think. I want to hear your music. I want to talk to you if you're doing something cool. Let me interview you. Be in touch. Have a great day. That's what's new in the 802.